Joining me now is Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Joe, thanks for joining me. I want to get your thoughts too on President Trump signing the bill to release the Epstein files. Joe, what are you expecting to see out of these files, given we have had a drip feed of material already over many months?
Yeah, Caroline, I would say that what we're not going to see is anything that is damaging to Donald Trump. In other words, this is what I know, and I've been saying this for many months now, that Donald Trump has run for president 3 times in the United States, 2016, 2020, 2024. Democrats were in control of all aspects of government during most of those times. If you wanted to take Donald Trump out of the equation, as far as him winning the presidency, and he did that twice, you probably would have released something damaging by now from the Epstein files that they've had, Democrats have all along. So I think in the end, we've seen some embarrassing things for Democrats, right, in terms of Epstein donating to Hakeem Jeffries, who is the House Speaker, for example, or trading text messages with a congressional woman named Stacey Plaskett, even complimenting her on the way she was dressed during a hearing where he was feeding her information about Donald Trump. We also saw Epstein call Donald Trump dangerous. And then all I know is that during the first Trump administration in 2019, Trump indicted Jeffrey Epstein. So I think in the end, it's been a lot of innuendo in terms of what is Trump trying to hide. But this may be like the Russia hoax, where they said Trump was colluding with Vladimir Putin in the Kremlin, and that it ended up having a boomerang effect. I have a feeling that that's where we're going here based on the evidence that we've seen to this point.
Yeah, look, I think you're right, because when the Democrats released some of those emails naming Trump recently, that was a bit of a boomerang effect in itself, having redacted the name of the victim, Virginia Giuffre, who turned out to be someone who always said that Trump never did anything wrong to her. Look, you mentioned Democrat Stacey Plaskett, who had been texting Epstein during that 2019 congressional hearing. Now, take a look at her excuse as she was grilled about this on CNN.
But like many constituents, individuals get your phone number, they text you about issues, they speak with you. I have spoken with him about issues that are relevant, things that are going on in the Virgin Islands and elsewhere around the country.
Right, but on that day that we're talking about, you initiated the text exchange at 7:55 in the morning. So why were you even texting with Epstein at the time? He was a known sex offender then.
Sure. You know, I explained to people, I've been a prosecutor for many years. And there are a lot of people who have information that are not your friends, that you use to get information to get at the truth.
Joe, do you buy any of that?
No, because again, Epstein and her were going back and forth where he was complimenting her outfit. And she's like, oh, thank you. So that sounded friendly to me. And by the way, if you want credible information, I'm pretty sure the last person you go to is somebody who is a convicted sex offender who had been indicted several times. She was texting during a hearing in an effort to make Donald Trump look bad. She knows she's caught. And the old saying is that when you're in a hole, stop digging. And right now, Stacey Plaskett is halfway to China by now in that regard.
You could be right. Look, speaking of the Democrats, Florida Congresswoman Sheila Chifilis-McCormack was hit with a federal indictment Wednesday, accusing her of stealing $5 million in federal emergency funds to support her 2021 congressional campaign. She faces up to 53 years in prison if convicted. Joe, it seems that these Democrats love to bring up any misdemeanor from a Republican, but between this and Letitia James, I don't think they have any moral high ground here left.
Oh, no, this proves that rock bottom, has a basement, right? When you're talking about things like this, like stealing money from FEMA, when people are most in need, especially in Florida that has been devastated by hurricanes in the past couple of years, that is a whole bowl of wrong and an 8th circle of hell that is waiting for this person as a result, if she is guilty, of course, and found guilty. So, yeah, that's the thing. In American media, I'm barely seeing anything about this story. I have a feeling if a Republican did this, it would be 24/7 news, and that's the double standard that we live with here over the pond.
Yeah, such hypocrisy. We have very much the same situation here in Australia, don't you worry. Before I let you go, I want to speak to you about Thomas Matthew Crooks, the man who tried to assassinate President Trump on the campaign trail last year. You spoke this week about how it was the most uncovered story of the century. Joe, why do you think that is?
I think because we had, let's see, Donald Trump was the first president to be shot. I know he's a candidate at the time, so he's a former president, since Ronald Reagan in 1981. And Thomas Crooks, he carries out this assassination attempt. He outflanks the entire Secret Service. Local law enforcement is able to fly a drone over the rally site just a day beforehand and hide a high-powered rifle, behind an air conditioner, and then is able to get up on the roof of the one building that had line of sight to Donald Trump 400 feet away. And when you have a scope, that's like a 2-foot putt. And if Donald Trump doesn't turn his head the way he did at that exact moment, we're talking about the late Donald Trump. And the fact that we barely saw any firings from the Secret Service, because remember, they knew there was a threat out there at that rally, and they still said, break a leg, Donald Trump, get out there, instead of like saying, stay back until we neutralize the threat. There are so many unanswered questions here that deserve answers. And now we're seeing that Thomas Crooks may have been coordinating this with other people, that he obviously had a trans sort of fetish, much like Tyler Robinson, who tried to kill Charlie Kirk. I have a very hard time believing that a 20-year-old kid almost killed a former president, future president, without any help whatsoever. We deserve answers, but our media is apathetic, except for Miranda Devine of the New York Post. Thank God for her, because she's uncovering a lot of things right now on her own that obviously other people with far more resources should be looking into at this point.
Yeah, Miranda is exceptional, a former Australian colleague of ours here, and doing wonderful things at the New York Post, uncovering all the social media footprint that this guy actually had. And you're right, like the lack of coverage, the lack of information from authorities, they're just fueling conspiracy theories that may or may not be true, but we don't know. Joe Concha, thank you for joining me.
A pleasure. Thanks so much. We'll do it again.